No, actually, no. Sorry, I wasn't talking. Yo, what's up? Just working on a plant library asset. Kind of just making it not so perfect. Kind of giving it a little bit of a different look than it normally looks. So it doesn't look so uniformly clean. Free asset, basically, from this plugin called Plant Factory, which is free and really cool. So here's the original asset. It's a procedural plant generator, so you can make trees and plants all procedurally. It's not being updated anymore, so that's why it's free. So, of course, I do not know how to do this just yet, but I'm just downloading the assets and kind of like just playing with them, importing them into Blender, and then just kind of like, changing them up a little bit, just a little bit, give them some different variations. Because straight out of the box, this is what they look like, and you can see that it's like a little bit weird. We have some see-through, so opacity issues, and some a few things you need to tweak a couple of the materials, which is nothing, not a big deal. And then this is what I get here, which still to me they look a little too clean and perfect, but that's why I'm kind of just adding some imperfections to them. Now here, thanks. I have always admired your style. I'm switching from Maya, and it is a slow switch for me. So nice to see you at work. Thanks. I downloaded View, a plant and plant factory yesterday, so this is very cool. Thanks. Oh, actually, cool. Yeah, right before I left for my winter vacation, I had downloaded this, and it's, I mean, it's really cool because again, like I said, it's free, and there are some issues, a little bit, but nothing major. For example, when I imported all my materials over here, the I'm using Octane 2026, the standard vanilla Blender version, and then I just add the add-on. So I noticed when I converted them, all the power was set to zero point 0.7. So that kind of made things look a little wonky. So this should be set to power 1. And especially, for example, things that have opacity. See, like this here has an opacity note. If I set that to 0, you see that? So if I get in close, by default, they come in like, for some reason, I don't know why. I think it may be the add-on I'm using, I'm not sure. They come in 0.70, so they're kind of slightly opaque, but it should be set to 1. So, and then again, these don't have any transparency put through them. Like you can't see how like we can't see through them. So we can easily add that in. I would just do, for example, come here to my transmission and add in a grayscale color. And then switch this from specular to diffuse. And kind of like, really should throw in a color or some type of other map here. And that might kind of open it up a little bit. But right now, since I'm just making them default and these are going to be an asset, I don't want to do that. So per project, because again, that also cranks up render time. So if this is going to be an asset and it's only going to be like this big in the shot, there's no need to have transparency on it, right? Because that's just going to add to the render time. So out of the box, I just want them to have some variation. That's what I'm kind of just going through and changing the leaf colors so they're a little bit different and desaturating the color a little bit. To me, like they're like just too bright and vibrant, right? Which, you may want, but I'm just kind of mixing things up just a little bit. So what I'm doing is just adding a color correction in between the diffuse, like this. And then I'm just kind of like shifting the hue slightly or something. Just so they're not all the same. And I don't have to do them to all of them, but let's look at the flowers here. And I also keep the original cycles material so I can always flip them if I need them to use them for cycles, or I can use them for Octane, so I have two variants. And what I like to do is just add that hue node in there just so I can see what I'm working with. So there it is. So I know what I'm working on, and then I'll just set that back to default. And I think that looks really cool, so I'll probably just leave that alone. Brightness, I'm actually reset this node back to default. Now see, this to me is just a little too bright. So I'm gonna knock down the saturation just a tad bit. Maybe even bring down the gamma. Or something like that. Overall brightness. Yeah, brightness level is very sensitive, so you gotta be careful when you use the brightness. And hold down shift. Just a little bit like that. See, it looks a little bit better to me. It just kind of knocks off that super bright, even though the sun is a little hot. And same with the petals, the whiteness of the petals. Petals. Actually, let's go back to petals here. Yeah, these petals really should have a little bit of transparency on them because to me right now they look like paper. Let's just see if we can run this straight into transparency, diffuse. And then while we're at it, I'm going to add in quickly here. Let's go into textures, operators, color correction, right click, add to my favorites, because I use that node all the time. So I can just really quickly just jump in here and go like that. Just add that there. And again, let's just kind of zero this out so I can see where we're at. And see, I don't know where we're at. I don't know what petal this is affecting. So let me disconnect that for a minute. Okay, I don't know what this material is doing. Let's see. This one has a little bit of yellow and interesting. Where is that one coming from? Oh, there it is. It's over here. All right, let's reset that back. see if we add this into here. Does it do anything? Oh, see, that makes a difference. Big difference. Look. Um, Color-wise, I think I like what's going on here. The saturation just down just a tad bit. Gamma. Now we can see the sun coming through it a little bit. I think right. Let me get it backlit. I think backlit would be right there. I need to sign up for your stuff. Just seeing the favorites was great. I hope to G now, but thanks for doing this live, even though a few minutes helps for us. No problem. You can always come back and watch it later. It'll be up. So yeah, that's why I kind of do these just to basically document so I can come back and use them later. So no problem. Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for joining. Don't forget you can join my free Blender Octane community. Let me give you the link really quick. Hang on here. One second here. I'll shoot you the link. And definitely join in here. There you go. Hey, no problem. Have a good day. Or evening, wherever. think even on this, we might need to start adding a color correction on this, you know. Because let's go ahead and reset that. I think it's a little bit too bright. Now 100 is a little too much. 50. 20. Hmm. Let's actually back to normal. I think seeing with the gamut of like 2, not 25, 2. Yeah, it's a little bit better there. Same one here. Let's also add a color correction node in between there. Maybe gamma like 5. Ooh, too much. Maybe 2. Oh yeah, that can go back to where it was at. Do. That doesn't really need any specular. Oh, scapula. Well, yeah. Those leaves definitely need a little bit. There we go. That's nice. Let's do one more like that. All right, cool. We'll leave that. petals. Let's go back up here to the top. Stems. I don't think these need it as much, but I definitely would like to make these a little bit darker. Let's just go like 1.3, which is actually changing from the top stock. You can see there's a difference in color. No, there's not. Interesting. All right, let's go back to another top petal here. Top petal number 1. Well, bell petal, what? Is this missing a material? I think it is. Specular. Yes, it is. It's missing one more. What happened there? Alpha? Let's add in a color correction into the diffuse, or into the albedo. Oh, that's why those look so white. Yeah, they're missing an image. All right, cool. So RGB image. Now this one needs. Hey, what's up? What's up? How's it going? This one needs. What the heck is the name of that? Bell petal. Oh, one. Bells petal. Petal 01. I think this one. Yeah, that's it. All right, but now we need to give it some. Let's give it some light to come through it. Transmission, diffuse, and then let's also run another color correction into here. Let's straighten up these nodes for a minute. Actually, these nodes are a little bit too close as far as I'm concerned. Gee, move those over there. All right, this one, let's go like 1.3. Make that just a little bit darker. How about 2? That's a little bit, that feels better. And let's come back to here. Brightness, I'm gonna go like 95. Bring that down just a tad bit. Saturation, let's offset that a little bit. Gamma 1.5. Let's go bigger too. Actually, let's go back to gamma 1. 1.5. think 1.5 takes a little bit of that white out. Let's go 1. That's fine. Let's just take the saturation down to like 95. Nice. We got a little bit of subsurface, not necessarily subsurface, but it's letting the light through, which it should be because they're flowers, right? And the same with the leaves here on the bottom. They're letting a little bit of light through. There we go. That looks nice. All right. Let's go back to that view that I had here. And let's render this one here. Quickly save that. Yeah, just working on some assets using this free program called Plat Factory, and just kind of like tweaking the images a little bit, just give them a little bit more so they don't look so clean and uniform. I mean, these look good, but when I convert them over to Octane, it loses a little bit of it, like the transparency of the leaves and things like that. So this is a really cool program, and you can make plants procedurally. Like, I don't know how to do all that. I'm just using the library and bringing stuff in from the library, which is really nice. It's all free. So let's see how this looks. Yeah, it looks better than what I had before, the original. You can see that back fern back there. I still have to go through because there's some issues with the when I converted it. The transparency is like 0.7. It should be set to 1, so that's why it looks a little wispy. So that's what I had to fix. So I'm just kind of figuring out the workflow needed when I convert stuff over. Probably need to set the focal length on this camera. I don't think it's focused on the flower. I think it's focused on the ground. Probably should turn the samples down. I don't really need 500 samples for this either. Probably should do 100 plus with the denoiser. But it is what it is. Let's let it finish. Hello, hello. All right, that's finished. Let's take a look at the denoise version of that. Yeah, I need to set the focal length. The focal point is off. That's why it's not on the flowers. Hang on. Autofocus was on. There we go. And let's cut down those samples. We don't need 500 samples. Just do like 150. Save that. And let's render that one more time. So I'm using the vanilla blender. I'm just using regular blender 4.5 LTS long-term support, and I'm using the blender Octane add-on, which is still in beta, but it's getting a lot more better now. So I come into add-ons here. You'll see I just have right here Octane blend. Or towel. Is that it? Octane blend? Oh, it's not. Hang on. Yep, there it is. It's Octane render. It just loads in like a normal plugin. It's a little bit slower than the standalone version at the moment, but it's no big deal. So plus I get to use normal blender, so it's pretty cool. All right. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Let me go ahead and save. Are we looking at the denoise? We should be seeing the denoise image anyways, because I already have it set up for the denoiser. It just still looks very too clean, but this is, again, this is not to me meant as a hero object. This is going to be scattered amongst things. So I just wanted to give these leaves a little bit of variation because they're all all kind of the same color. So now we've got a little bit. I use this Quixel Bridge ground material to try to help me to kind of make these look a little bit more natural. Again, the colors are too bright, but it's okay. It works. It's an asset, so it's always going to be tweaked from project to project. Let me go ahead and quickly save this. This will be trash v1, v2, format JPEG. All right, cool. So what I want to do is I wanted to post that into my post for my community. Somebody had asked about these materials and were they outdated or good enough. So picture A is out of the box. Picture B is with a little bit of tweaking. I did come across an issue where for some reason when converting, I think it may be my Blender Octane converter, it's setting the power of each node to 0.7 for colors, roughness, and opacity. So I had to go and set that to a value of 1, and then everything looks normal. If any of you guys are interested in joining my free community, I did post the link somewhere in here. Let me just copy it again. I have a free Blender Octane community. You guys feel free to join. And yeah, so let's see the difference. So this was before. This is straight converted, and then this is after I had to tweak. So the same with this other plant back here. We're having some issues with this other plant here, I can see. And I don't know, I think it might be the add-on that I'm using to convert materials is not set up for the new Blender 2020, for the Octane 2026 version. So for example, this right here is totally wrong. So if I come in here and I go to the materials, and if I click on here and I look at the nodes, this is the cycles node, and then I converted it to the Octane, which is, I have this nice handy add-on, but for some reason on the new nodes it's making the power 0.7. This should be set to 1, so I need to go through and change all these values to 1 for each one of these, which kind of sucks, but oh well. For free assets you got to do a little bit of work, right? And that's why when I'm, see, there it is. When I'm building assets, you only have to do it once. So once I have this built and tweaked, then I'm good to go for any other projects in the future. Always got to do a little bit of work for something. Nothing's free in life. Everything costs either time or money. In this case, time. And I think the guy who made this add-on, he's actually getting ready to drop a new version I saw on a post, so hopefully this will get fixed. So it always happens when, you know, new add-ons come into play or new versions. Blender 2026 is pretty insane. We got some really cool stuff. We got Gaussian splats in this here now. We've also got meshlets. We've got a new displacement, texture displacement, which is pretty cool. I'm going to be working on a video here shortly on how to install this version, the add-on. Hopefully it'll be out by next week. I think that's it. Boom. Go ahead and save that. So there it is. Now, one thing too, I noticed that when I convert these don't, like you can see here, they're not reacting as far as letting light through, because these are plants, so they should let a little bit of light through. So what I would do is go back to fern trunk. No, I want to go back to the leaves. And to give them that transparency, it's very easy. All I need to do is I'm going to take this diffuse and I'm going to plug it into transmission. And then I'm going to turn transmission to diffuse. And that should give us a little bit. There you go. You can see that. Boom. Now we got the light coming through. Just plug that into the transmission. Change that from specular, because specular will be more like glass, and diffuse will be more like, you know, like if it was not glass, basically. How's that looking? I think that's really nice. Yep. And that still can be tweaked a little bit. I think it's a little bit hot, meaning a little bit strong. I would add a color correction node in between there, but I'm not going to do that at the moment right here, just because I'm running out of time. And let's see what else. These ones here, you can see how when I do that here, it's got that frosted look, because again, it's like acting as if it was glass. That's why we changed that to diffuse. And then I think you could even use thin wall diffuse, because thin wall is kind of like, it's like a bubble. If you wanted something to be a bubble, thin wall diffuse versus diffuse. I'm not really seeing the difference. Interesting. Let me back up on a couple of those and see what that looks like. We changed it to thin wall diffuse. Because I think I read somewhere, probably for leaves, I think it should be thin wall diffuse. Let me check that really quick. Members in my community, in my paid community, have access to our ChatGPT bot that we've been training for the last year on Octane and Blender, so it's really helpful. I'm making a material that's going to be a leaf. So when I use specular, do I need to use specular thin wall diffuse or specular diffuse? Using specular with thin wall enabled, then plug your texture into the transmission and optionally diffuse for subsurface color. So set your material to specular in Octane, enable thin wall. This makes the material act like a single-sided surface, good for leaves and glass. Plug a leaf color texture into the transmission slot, act as a base color for the transmission. Optionally, plug the same texture into diffuse for backlighting. Add a normal. Okay, use specular map. Okay, so thin wall. So he's saying just to use thin wall, not even to use diffuse. Maybe just use thin wall. Interesting. Let's try on this plant. We'll set them all to thin wall. Oh, I think that does look a little different, huh? Oh, no, thin wall. Definitely don't want specular. There's diffuse. There's thin wall. Thin wall diffuse. Hang on here. Let's do something here. Let me open this up. So which is best for plants? Thin wall diffuse or just regular thin wall? Use thin wall diffuse. Okay, use thin wall diffuse. It's optimized for leaves, petals, paper, where you want both colors and same backlit without the full glossiness trends. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Thank you, chat. Thank you. So thin wall diffuse. Thin wall diffuse. And on my flower petal, I did everything at thin wall. I mean at diffuse. So I want to go back and change that to thin wall diffuse, thin wall diffuse, thin wall diffuse. Fern trunk, we're gonna leave it normal. And this guy here, we'll change it to thin wall diffuse. Thin wall diffuse. There we go. Okay, that's good to know. Now let's jump back over here. Camera's in the way. Let's go back to the flower. Let's get that backlit so I can see it. And this one, fortunately, I switched everything to diffuse, but that's okay. Let's just set it one time now and forget about thin wall diffuse. I'm actually going to leave that to normal. Same here, I'm going to leave that to normal. Leave that to normal. These leaves. Right, there we go. Save that. Boom. Yeah, that does feel a little bit better now. And that definitely, that back one. See those colors on that back plant to me look way too saturated. So I would desaturate them a little bit, but again, they're contrasted against a highly desaturated ground. So, but yeah, I'm gonna take a break from now. But now I'll come in, maybe just desaturate these just a little bit. But that's cool. And these should be, come in here, current file, plants. And there's our asset. Yeah, because even in the preview, you can see they look a lot more desaturated than they really are. Cool. Save this. All right, cool. Gotta go eat. I'm hungry. All right, guys. Catch you guys later. If you guys are interested in joining the free Blender Octane community, definitely links in the description here. Catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.